Okay, Dan, since Salesforce, which is such a success, why don't you head over to the Plasma and give us your newest best pitch? No pressure.
Here's one that I'm kind of socializing a little bit here, and it's called Pinterest. This company went public last year in April at $19. It traded as high as 35 over the summer. And in early November, when the company reported their Q4, they had a very disappointing quarter. The stock was down 17% the next day. They showed decelerating revenue growth. Average revenue per user was disappointing, but they did have some positives there. Margins were better. Net ads were kind of accelerating a little bit, but the stock was put in the penalty box. It closed the year basically flat from its IPO price, much better than some of its other tech IPOs that we saw last year. But I'll just mention one really important point that I think differentiates it from. On an adjusted basis, this company is expected to be profitable this year, not expected to be profitable for a few years on a GAAP basis, but they're growing sales at 35%. So they guided down. If you see a reacceleration when they report next month, you might see this stock kind of move up. One of the things I'll just mention is the stock is trying to bottom. It spent some time over the last 2 months below that IPO price, kind of banging around between 18 and 19.5 bucks. I think 20 looks like a pretty interesting breakout level. And the last point I'm just going to make right here is that, when we look at the focus on these big ad platforms like Facebook and Google, and you look at the monopolies they have, I think at some point you might see some M&A activity for some of these smaller niche players, which includes Snap. But this is a company, again, it is growing users. They are growing sales at 35%, and they do not have the regulatory scrutiny that some of these other ones will. I could see a Walmart looking to buy a Pinterest at some point. We know that Walmart's e-commerce head, Mark Lohr, the company bought his company, Jet.com. That really accelerated their e-commerce. I think a Pinterest within a massive retailer like Walmart would really reaccelerate some of their e-commerce efforts. Let's just go to the chart really quickly here. This is how this stock was trading since its IPO, down at 19 bucks. It was trading pretty well. It broke on that earnings. Expectations are obviously pretty low here. I think you get this thing above 20, you might see a move back to 25 if next month, when they report, they're able to beat and guide higher. And I'll just make one last point. You could look at February options, which will catch that earnings event, and could define your risk. It costs you about 5% for at-the-money calls in February. I like to play it like that for a move back towards 25.
Well, hey, quick question for you, Dan. You got $11 billion market cap on a Pinterest. So let's put a 40% premium on any deal. So you're looking at a 15 roughly $15 billion deal. You think a Walmart would be willing and able to digest that?
I do. Listen, I think this would be a company that should be a tab, or it should be a feature of Amazon. Amazon can't go out and buy another ad platform like that. And the other thing is Amazon's ad growth is growing pretty tremendously. This would be a way for Walmart to really just expand their e-commerce capabilities and put a CEO founder like Ben Silbermann in the place to take over for Mark Lohr, who is a serial entrepreneur. I suspect he wants to get moving at some point. So to me, that one makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying you buy it for that. I think you buy it if they beat and guide up. The stock's headed back to the mid-20s.
All right, good stuff. Come on back here. Okay, no more questions. Time to vote. Are you buying Dan's pitch on Pinterest, Tim?
Yeah, I am. And at one point I thought he was doing an airline, so I drew Dan in a plane. But it's actually pins, and I would be a buyer. I think the monetization and the fact that in 3Q these guys got EBITDA positive, and also the international MAUs are significantly ahead of progress. Early days of monetization, but I like the sell-off in the price now.
Okay, Guy Adami?
Yeah, I love Pinterest. We've talked about it for a while. Yes, the stock has been difficult, but 330 million monthly average users. ARPU, that's Tim's word, not mine, but that hangs in. And you're talking about, if there is an M&A deal, you're talking about probably a $16 to $19 billion deal, which in this environment is not a big deal. And I think Dan makes a lot of sense. So I don't think you necessarily own it for that, but that's sort of your tail, and it's not a risk. It's actually a potential huge bonus to the upside.
Okay, interesting stuff there, and a compelling M&A discussion, guys. Appreciate that. So the traders have spoken. What about you folks at home? Are you interested? Vote in a Twitter poll at CNBC Fast Money. We'll reveal the results later on in the show.